Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we take these huge piles of research and, well, turn them into insights you can actually use, hopefully ones you won't forget.
That's the plan.
Today, we are really getting into something kind of paradoxical about digital assets. You get this promise of total financial control, total sovereignty.
And it's a big but.
Yeah, it comes tied to this equally total and honestly sometimes scary burden of keeping it all secure yourself.
That really is the core tension, isn't it? So today we're doing a deep analysis, really looking closely at the master key to your digital wealth, that seed phrase.
Recovery phrase.
Exactly. And we're going to dissect the intricate strategies, the layers you need to protect it, not just from, hackers and digital thieves.
These are bad enough.
Definitely. But also from those slower creeping enemies. Physical disaster like fire or flood, corrosion over time, and maybe the biggest challenge, planning for what happens after you're gone.
Okay, let's just ground this for everyone listening. We're talking about that sequence of 12 or 24 words, the recovery phrase. If you're doing self-custody, using a non-custodial wallet, this is it. This is the master key.
It really is. It's the one thing that can bypass pretty much any other security you might have set up. The absolute single point of failure.
Because it's the cryptographic route, right? It's not like your bank account.
Not at all. There's no customer service line you can call, no way to prove it's you and hit forgot password.
Oh.
If you lose those words, if you just misplace them, the assets tied to them are, well, they're locked. Potentially forever, just stuck on the blockchain.
Yeah.
And if someone else gets hold of them...
Gone. Instantly.
Usually within seconds, yeah.
Yeah.
Bots are constantly scanning for exposed phrases.
So our mission today, using the research you pulled together, is to really break down 3 key layers of security.
Right.
First, we've got to tackle the basic user mistakes, the misconceptions that literally create security holes, big ones.
Yeah, the human element is critical.
Second, we'll look at the best ways, technically and physically, to make your backup rock solid, how to harden it.
Against digital threats and physical ones.
And finally, we need to explore what's happening with professional standards, legal stuff, inheritance planning, even some cutting-edge tech to make sure your wealth actually survives you.
That inheritance piece is a huge, often overlooked crisis in this space.
Before we jump into layer 1, though, we really need to nail down that custody difference. It's fundamental.
Absolutely vital. Okay, so on one side, you've got self-custody. That's the whole not your keys, not your crypto idea.
Right. You hold the phrase, you control the assets directly.
And the big advantage there is protection against counterparty risk. You're safe if a big centralized exchange goes belly up.
Like Mandox, way back when, or more recently, the FTX implosion. Nightmare scenarios.
Exactly. Millions of users suddenly found their funds frozen, inaccessible, because they trusted that central platform to hold their keys. Those are custodial solutions.
The exchange holds the keys for you. Convenient, maybe?
It seems convenient, sure. It takes the burden of seed phrase management off your shoulders. But, and here's the trade-off, it introduces serious risks. Your assets could be frozen by regulators. The exchange itself could get hacked. They might halt withdrawals during a market panic.
So you lose control in exchange for perceived convenience.
Precisely. The path we're exploring today, self-custody, is all about maximizing that control. But, and this is the theme, maximizing control means you have to maximize your own security game.
Okay, let's start right there with the human element, because that's where most security fails, isn't it? With the person actually holding the keys.
It often is, yeah. The research we looked at shows this, well, pretty significant gap in user understanding. People just don't grasp the basic nature of a seed phrase, and that confusion leads directly to security flaws that criminals are, frankly, very good at exploiting.
And it's fascinating, maybe a bit alarming, how many people just equate a seed phrase with a normal password.
It really is. One study we reviewed found 52%, just over half, of the participants thought a username and password was enough to recover or transfer their wallet funds.
Wow. So they think it works just like logging into Gmail or something.
Exactly. They assume there's some company behind the scenes, some customer service desk that can verify who they are and just, reset the key if they lose it.
But as we said, that's fundamentally wrong. The seed is the key. It's the math. If you don't have it, nobody can help you if someone else gets it.
Game over. And this misunderstanding goes even deeper. Another finding, 58% of users thought they could choose their own seed phrase.
Like pick a favorite quote or song lyric.
Sort of, yeah. Which shows they don't get that it's this incredibly complex, algorithmically generated key. It has to be random. It has to have high entropy to ensure the cryptographic security needed. It's not just 12 memorable words.
It's derived from a massive random number, essentially.
And not understanding that randomness, that irreplaceability, leads to, well, some painful lessons. There's an anecdote in the source material about a user called P6.
Ah, yes, P6. Burned twice by this knowledge gap.
Yeah.
A textbook case, sadly. First time, they lost funds simply because, in their words, they didn't even know what a seed phrase is, so they never wrote it down during setup, just clicked through.
Ouch. Okay, lesson learned, hopefully.
You would think. But the second loss really highlights how fast things go wrong in the digital world. They got a new wallet, recorded the new seed phrase this time, but then they stored it in a public GitHub repository.
Oh no, not public GitHub. I can almost hear the scraping bots lighting up. Why would they do that?
The thinking, according to the interview, was, well, it sounds almost naive now. They figured nobody's visiting that repository that much.
Underestimating the enemy badly.
Hugely. Underestimating the sheer scale and speed of automated attacks. They weren't dealing with a human casually browsing code. They were up against bots designed specifically to find patterns like the BIP39 word list in public data streams.
And the result?
Funds gone. Their report.
Yeah.
Lost immediately within seconds. That timing is everything. It wasn't some hacker stumbling across it days later.
Yeah.
It was automated. Scraped, recognized, imported, drained instantaneously.
Exactly. It just hammers home the point. If your seed phrase touches any online, publicly accessible environment, even one you think is obscure, assume it's compromised. Instantly. Machine speed.
Okay, so beyond just basic user error like P6, let's talk about the more sophisticated threats, the things that might catch even a careful user off guard. What's the digital risk landscape look like specifically for seed phrases?
Social engineering is still a huge one. We saw that reference to a $2.8 million Bitcoin theft in the UK, traced right back to a phishing attack where the victim gave up their seed phrase.
How do those usually work? What's the hook?
It's almost always about creating urgency and impersonating authority or help. Scammers will pose as support staff from an exchange saying your account is compromised and they need the phrase to secure it now. Or, maybe even scarier, they pretend to be law enforcement.
Fake cops.
Yeah, claiming there's a legal freeze or investigation, and they need you to verify ownership by providing the seed phrase. It preys on fear and confusion.
And the absolute #1 rule here has to be
Never, ever, ever give your seed phrase to anyone. No legitimate company, support desk, wallet provider, or law enforcement agency will ever ask for it. If they ask for your 12 or 24 words, it's a scam, full stop. End the conversation immediately.
crystal clear. Okay, beyond the social hacks, what about the tech side? Malware.
Definitely. Malware is a constant threat. You've got your classic keyloggers, often hidden in pirated software or dodgy downloads. If you type your seed phrase during a wallet restore on an infected machine, the keylogger grabs it.
Simple but effective.
Then there's clipboard monitoring malware, even sneakier. You copy your seed phrase or maybe a destination address.
And the malware swaps it out in the clipboard instantly.
Exactly. You paste what you think is your phrase or your friend's address, but the malware has replaced it with the attacker's details. You might not even notice before you hit send or confirm.
That's chilling, especially with hardware wallets where you might copy-paste the address to your computer screen to verify.
Precisely. And that leads into supply chain attacks. These are really sophisticated. Malware gets embedded deep inside legitimate, widely used software libraries or apps. It sits there silently.
Until you go to make a transaction.
Right. Then it activates. It might modify the address shown on your computer screen after you've confirmed it on your hardware wallet, but before the transaction is actually broadcast. So the hardware wallet showed the right address, you approved it, but the malware on your computer hijacked the final step.
Wow. So the infection point isn't even the wallet itself, it's the software environment around it.
Correct, which makes keeping your entire system clean absolutely paramount.
Okay, that covers active attacks.
Mm-hmm.
But what about just bad storage habits? Even if users avoid phishing and malware, how are they accidentally putting their seeds at risk digitally?
The study data was pretty clear on this. Convenience is the killer. People do things like taking a photo of their seed phrase with their phone.
Which then gets backed up to the cloud, probably.
Exactly. Or they type it into a document and save it on Google Drive or Dropbox. Or put it in the Notes app on their phone, which syncs everywhere. Some even email it to themselves.
Oh, emailing it. That feels like sending a postcard with your bank details.
It's essentially that risky, yeah. Because all those methods, cloud storage, Notes apps, email, they usually rely on a single point of failure. Your cloud account password, your Google password, your Apple ID password.
And if that account gets compromised?
Which happens all the time through phishing, weak passwords, data breaches. Then the attacker gets access to everything stored there. Your seed phrase photo, that document, that note, that email. They find it. They drain your wallet. It links back to that broader risk of credential theft. Hackers look for exposed configuration files, weak passwords. One breach can cascade.
So that physical metal backup might be safe in your drawer, but the convenient digital copy is a huge vulnerability.
A massive one.
All right. Given this whole landscape of human error, digital attacks, and bad habits, what's the essential advice, the basic wallet hygiene everyone needs to follow?
It needs to be structured, layered. First, absolute rule, never ever take a photo of your seed phrase. Just don't.
Got it. No photos.
Second, think about your funds in tiers. Use different security levels for different purposes and amounts.
Okay, explain that tiered approach.
Keep only a small amount, like pocket money, in a hot wallet. That's a software wallet on your phone or computer connected to the internet. Use it for small daily transactions. Quick and easy, but low value at risk.
So like you're spending cash.
Exactly. Then your main savings, your long-term holdings, your HODL stack that belongs in a hardware wallet. Dedicated, offline, cold storage, much higher security.
Air-gapped, ideally.
As much as possible, yes. And for really significant amounts, think corporate treasuries or high net worth individuals. Multi-signature setups are the gold standard. We'll get more into that later.
And centralized exchanges where they fit.
Minimize your exposure. Keep only what you need for active trading or immediate withdrawal on exchanges. Treat it like a temporary holding area, not your savings account. The less you have there, the less you risk if the exchange gets hacked or halts withdrawals. It's about segmenting your risk.
Okay, we've built the digital defenses, addressed the human factor. Now we need to face the physical world. The seed phrase is the key, fine, but that key needs to survive. Well, everything else. Fire, flood, rust, just plain old decay over decades.
Right. We're transitioning from cyber threats to physical permanence. The flimsy piece of paper that wallets often give you, that's just not good enough for serious long-term storage.
So the community figured this out pretty quickly. What's the go-to solution now for making these backups disaster-proof?
Metal. Definitely metal stamping or engraving. People are ditching paper and putting their seed phrases onto high-grade metal plates, steel washers, things like that.
Like dog tags for your crypto.
Kind of, yeah, but more robust. There are community guides out there. The source material mentioned one, Redbeard Engineered, showing how to use common steel washers with a little wooden jig to line up the words perfectly. Or you can buy specialized kits.
Like punch sets.
Exactly. Things like the Kobo tablet punch. Basically a set of letter punches and a sturdy metal card or tablet. You physically hammer the words letter by letter into the metal. It's permanent.
Is there a specific type of metal we should be looking for? Does it matter if it's steel or titanium or something else?
Oh, it matters hugely. Material science is key here. You need something that resists high heat and corrosion. Your basic 304 stainless steel is common, it's decent, but it can rust, especially over many years in a damp or salty environment. Think coastal areas or maybe a basement that floods.
Okay, so what's better? The Goldilocks choice.
The consensus really leans towards 316 stainless steel. It has molybdenum added, which makes it much more resistant to chlorides, like salt water. It's a marine-grade steel. Or, if you want the absolute best, titanium.
Titanium. Sounds expensive.
It is more expensive, yeah. But it's incredibly strong, lightweight, and extremely resistant to both corrosion and very high temperatures. Brass is sometimes used too. It's softer, easier to stamp, but it's just not as durable overall as good steel or titanium.
And the big test is fire, right? House fires get incredibly hot.
They do, easily over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, sometimes much higher. The good news is, tests mentioned in the research show that properly stamped high-grade metal washers were still perfectly readable after being heated to 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's impressive. Hotter than most home safes are rated for.
Exactly. Many fireproof bags or safes start failing around 800 degrees Fahrenheit to 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So even if the container burns through, the stamped metal key itself should survive the fire. That's the resilience you're looking for.
Okay, so we've got this super durable metal backup. Great. But now how do we protect it from just being found? And how do we build in redundancy? One copy isn't enough, right?
Definitely not. This is where we adapt that classic IT backup rule, the 3-2-1 strategy for crypto.
3 copies, 2 types of media, 1 offsite. How does that translate?
Pretty directly, actually. You want at least 3 copies of your seed phrase info. Use at least two different types of media. So maybe one is your stamped metal plate, another might be securely stored within a dedicated offline hardware wallet configured just for backup. And crucially, keep at least one of those copies geographically separate, off-site.
Off-site meaning not just in another room in your house.
Right. If the whole house burns down or gets flooded, multiple copies in different rooms doesn't help. Off-site means physically separate. The most common secure option is a bank safe deposit box.
Reliable, physically secure, fire-resistant.
Generally, yes, or perhaps a very trusted family member's safe. But that requires a lot of trust and clear legal instructions for access if something happens to you.
Okay, 3 copies, 2 media, 1 off-site. Now, what about security if someone finds one of these physical backups? Say a burglar breaks into the house and finds the metal plate. How do we make it useless to them?
This is where we add layers of obscurity and cryptographic defense. The single best tool here is the BIP39 passphrase. It's often called the 25th word.
An extra word you add to the main 12 or 24.
Exactly. It's an optional, user-defined word or phrase, could be anything, purple monkey dishwasher, that you add on top of the standard seed. Crucially, you store this passphrase completely separately from the main 12 or 24 words.
Ah, I see. So the thief finds the metal plate with 24 words.
But without that 25th word, that passphrase, the 24 words alone generate a completely different empty wallet. The actual funds are inaccessible.
And they can't just guess the 25th word.
Not realistically, no. Unlike the main seed words, which come from a fixed list, the passphrase can be literally anything. The possibilities are infinite. Brute forcing it is practically impossible.
So you can keep the stamped metal plate at home, but the passphrase
goes in the safe deposit box. Or with your lawyer. The two parts of the key never physically meet until you deliberately bring them together for recovery. It's a very powerful security layer.
makes perfect sense. What about simpler tricks people use, just to make it harder for an opportunistic thief?
People do try various low-tech obfuscation methods. Things like applying a simple Caesar cipher to the words on the plate, shifting each letter forward one position or something. Right. Or maybe swapping out one of the real BIP39 words for a similar-sounding word that isn't on the official list.
Just to trip up someone trying to import it quickly.
Exactly. A quick scan or a basic import attempt would fail because the structure is subtly wrong. It might deter a casual thief, though a determined attacker could probably figure these out eventually. The passphrase is much stronger.
What about memorization? The brain wallet idea. People talk about memorizing their seed phrase. Is that a viable strategy?
It should only ever be considered as an extra layer of redundancy, not the primary backup. Memorizing it gives you a backup against physical destruction, sure.
But the risks seem huge.
They really are. The source material rightly points out the dangers. Simple forgetting over time, amnesia after an accident or medical event, getting the word order wrong under stress. Your brain isn't designed for permanent, perfect recall of random data over decades. Relying solely on biological memory is just too fragile for something this critical.
Okay, so metal backups, 3-2-1 rule, separate the passphrase. That handles physical theft and basic loss. But what if the primary key and its main backups are destroyed simultaneously? Like a catastrophic event taking out both your house and your local bank branch. This leads us to more complex splitting methods, right?
Right. Now we're talking about removing the single point of failure entirely, using cryptography to distribute the key itself. Main technique here is Shamir's secret sharing, or SSS.
Shamir's. How does that work, in simple terms?
Basically, it's a mathematical way to split your seed phrase into multiple pieces called shares. Let's say you create 3 shares.
Yeah.
The clever part is you can set it up so you only need, say, 2 of those 3 shares to reconstruct the original secret.
Ah, a 2 of 3 scheme. So if one share is lost or destroyed, or if one person holding a share becomes unavailable,
you can still recover the funds using the other 2 shares. It builds in redundancy and availability. You don't need all the pieces.
that sounds incredibly useful, especially for inheritance or group custody. Are there downsides?
There's one main cryptographic trade-off: space efficiency, or rather, the lack of it.
Meaning?
With SSS, each individual share has to be at least as large in terms of data size as the original secret itself. So if you split a 24-word seed phrase into 3 shares, you don't get 3 small 8-word pieces. You get 3 separate, full-length, 24-word related phrases.
Wow, okay, so splitting it triples the amount of stuff you need to securely store.
Essentially, yes. You now have 3 times the physical backup material to manage, protect, and potentially distribute using that 3-2-1 method. It becomes much more cumbersome logistically.
So SSS is elegant mathematically for availability, but maybe not ideal for simple, durable physical backup. Which brings us to what many consider the top tier for high-value funds: multi-signature wallets, multisig.
Multisig is often seen as the gold standard, especially for significant amounts. It tackles both security and availability, arguably more effectively than SSS for many use cases, and without that space issue.
How does multisig work differently?
Instead of splitting one secret key, multisig creates a wallet address that inherently requires multiple independent keys to authorize any transaction. You set up a quorum again. Commonly, 2 of 3 or maybe 3 of 5 keys are required.
So no single key can move the funds. You need cooperation.
Exactly. And typically, each of those keys would be generated and stored on a separate hardware wallet, ideally kept in different secure locations, maybe even controlled by different trusted individuals or entities.
That sounds complex to set up and manage. Is that the barrier?
That is absolutely the challenge. Setting up a multi-sig wallet, managing the different keys, coordinating signing, planning for key rotation or loss. It is significantly more complex than just managing a single seed phrase. It requires real technical understanding and meticulous procedures.
So why is it the gold standard then, if it's so hard?
Because for very large sums, that complexity is the security. The fact that you need, say, 3 separate hardware devices in 3 different locations, potentially managed by 3 different people, means there's no single point of compromise. Stealing one key is useless to an attacker. Losing one key doesn't lock up the funds in a 2 of 3 setup. The massive increase in security justifies the complexity when the stakes are high enough.
All right, we've covered defending against hackers, surviving fires, even complex crypto schemes like multisig. But now, the really long-term problem. What happens when you're not around anymore? Inheritance.
Yeah.
How do you pass these assets on, especially if your heirs aren't crypto experts?
This is arguably the biggest unsolved problem for the average user. The data we looked at was stark.
Very few people making plans, right?
Shockingly few. The study found essentially none of the interviewees, and only about 22% in the wider survey had made any formal plans for their crypto assets after death.
So most people are just hoping for the best.
Yeah.
Leaving it to chance. Or maybe unintentionally setting up the ultimate HODL play, as the source called it, taking the keys to the grave.
Which is a tragic outcome. It means potentially life-changing wealth just gets permanently lost because nobody knew how to access it or where the keys even were.
It's a massive failure of estate planning.
And traditional estate planning tools with probate courts, they just don't work well here, do they?
Not really. A court order saying, give the beneficiary the Bitcoin is meaningless if nobody can find or access the private keys. The irreversibility changes everything. This necessity is forcing the creation of new formal standards for Bitcoin estate planning. It's becoming professionalized.
What does that look like? What are these new standards?
We're seeing new terms and expectations emerge in the legal field. Things like digital asset competence. It's not just a buzzword. Lawyers and fiduciaries who don't understand this stuff are facing potential malpractice exposure.
So lawyers now need to be tech-savvy about crypto. They absolutely do. Professional competence in this area now demands specific knowledge. They need to understand Bitcoin tech basics, different custody models, self-custody versus exchange, UTXO versus smart contracts, and the unique inheritance challenges. It goes way beyond traditional asset planning.
What specific tech things must they grasp?
They need to know what a seed phrase is, how a hardware wallet works, the significance of a BIP39 passphrase as that extra security layer. And critically, they must internalize the finality of transactions and key management. If they give bad advice on key storage and the funds are lost, they could be liable, because unlike a lost stock certificate, you can't just get a replacement issued.
Okay, this sounds specialized. Are there places, legal jurisdictions, that are ahead of the curve in setting up frameworks for this?
Yes, definitely. For people with substantial holdings where the trust is legally established, the CITES becomes really important. The research identified Wyoming and South Dakota as being the gold standard jurisdictions right now for Bitcoin trust planning.
Wyoming and South Dakota, why them specifically?
It comes down to their state laws. They've been proactive in passing legislation that specifically addresses digital assets. Wyoming, for example, created legal definitions for digital assets and gave trustees explicit powers to manage them. South Dakota is known for very strong trust laws, including perpetual trusts that can last forever, and robust asset protection features. Their legal systems are better equipped to handle the unique nature of these assets within a formal trust structure.
So when setting up one of these specialized trusts, what powers does the trustee the person or entity managing it after you're gone absolutely need to have.
The trust documents need to be very clear and grant broad authority. Specifically, the trustee needs the power to delegate technical tasks. They're likely not crypto security experts themselves.
Right, the lawyer manages the trust, but not necessarily the keys directly.
Exactly. So the trust must allow them to hire qualified service providers, specialized firms that handle secure key generation, institutional-grade storage, recovery procedures, maybe even multi-sig management. And the trust needs to set clear standards for how the trustee evaluates these providers and their security measures. Think mandated audits, key rotation schedules, software update protocols. It needs to be an active, ongoing process.
So the trust is the legal wrapper, but it empowers crypto specialists to handle the tech side. Makes sense. But it's not just about the lawyers and trustees, is it? What about the people actually inheriting the assets? The beneficiaries?
That's a huge piece of the puzzle, and these new professional standards emphasize it. They call it beneficiary preparation requirements.
Meaning the heirs need to be ready.
Exactly. You can have the best trust structure and the most secure custody, but if the beneficiary inherits the keys and immediately screenshots them or saves them on their desktop, disaster. So the trust might require the beneficiary to complete specific technical education, or maybe even mandate that they set up their own secure multi-sig wallet before the assets are distributed to them. The goal is to prevent immediate loss due to incompetence upon inheritance.
Ensuring the chain of custody remains secure right through to the final recipient. Okay, that covers the legal and trust structures. But what about pure tech solutions? Ways to handle this availability problem, getting the keys to heirs without lawyers or trusts, like a digital dead man switch, a DMS.
The DMS concept is definitely part of the conversation, especially for simpler setups. It's basically an automated system. You set it up so that if you become inactive for a certain period, it automatically sends predetermined information to your designated beneficiaries.
Like an email with instructions or maybe an encrypted file.
Typically, yeah. The simplest versions might be a script running on a small computer at home, like a Raspberry Pi. It needs a regular proof-of-life interaction from you. Maybe click a link, sign a message, if you miss checking in for, say, 90 days.
The system assumes you're incapacitated or worse and triggers the release.
Right. It might email your beneficiaries with instructions on where to find the physical backup, or perhaps it sends them the decryption key for an encrypted file containing the seed phrase.
But there are risks here too, right?
Yeah.
Especially with online DMS services.
Huge risks. The strong advice remains: never, ever store your actual plaintext seed phrase in any online database or cloud service, even one claiming to be a secure DMS. That just creates a massive single point of failure, often tied to something as simple as your email password.
So the DMS shouldn't hold the treasure, just the map or the key to the map.
Exactly. Use the DMS as a trigger mechanism only. It releases the location of the offline backup or the password to decrypt an offline encrypted backup. The core secret itself should remain offline and secure until absolutely needed. Don't let a third-party service hold the keys to the kingdom.
Okay, so DMS is a step towards automation, but still relies on external triggers or potentially insecure platforms. This brings us to the really cutting-edge stuff. Using the blockchain itself, using smart contracts or scripting to handle succession automatically and trustlessly.
Now we're getting into the truly decentralized solutions. This is where concepts like dynamic access structure systems, DAS, and paralysis proofs come in. It's a big leap.
Okay, break down DAS and paralysis proofs. Sounds like sci-fi.
Think of DAS as like multisig version 2.0, specifically designed for resilience against key loss. In a standard 2 of 3 multisig, if you lose one key, the funds are safe, but if you use a second key, the funds are permanently frozen because you can't reach the 2-key threshold anymore.
Right, a failure of availability.
DAS fixes this. It builds in a mechanism to securely change the rules of the multisig to migrate the quorum if one of the key holders becomes provably unavailable or paralyzed.
Provably unavailable. How does the system prove someone's unavailable without, a death certificate?
That's the paralysis proof. It's based on cryptographic inactivity. For smart contract platforms like Ethereum, you can script the DAS contract to periodically send a challenge to each key holder's address, maybe a simple sign this message request every 90 days.
And if they don't sign it?
If a key holder fails to respond, fails to sign that message within the specified time window, that verifiable on-chain failure acts as the proof of paralysis. The system sees they didn't sign, assumes they are unavailable, and can then trigger a predefined rule change.
Like automatically downgrading the requirement from 2 of 3 keys to 1 of 2.
Exactly. It ensures the remaining active key holders can still access the funds, preventing permanent loss due to one person's incapacitation or death. It's automating the recovery process based purely on verifiable cryptographic interaction, or lack thereof.
That feels revolutionary. It removes the need for trusted third parties like lawyers or family members to prove unavailability. The blockchain itself verifies it through inaction.
It's a powerful concept, and it works slightly differently on different chains. Ethereum's smart contracts make it more straightforward. On Bitcoin, with its UTXO model, DAFs is more complex, often involving conditional spending scripts where an accusation of paralysis can be appealed by the key holder within a certain number of blocks before the quorum change becomes final, but the principle is the same. Use cryptography to prove unavailability and maintain access.
Okay, DAS handles the quorum change. What about just releasing a secret after a certain time has passed, doing it trustlessly? Time lock puzzles.
Right, this is the other piece for automated trustless release. Using verifiable delay functions, or VDFs.
VDFs, how do they work?
Imagine you take your secret, maybe the decryption key for your main seed phrase backup, and you encrypt it. But you encrypt it using a special kind of computational puzzle. This puzzle is designed so that it provably requires a huge specific amount of sequential computation to solve.
Like forcing a computer to do billions of calculations that can't be sped up by using more computers.
Exactly. It requires sequential work, like doing 2 to the power of t calculations modulo n. You can calculate exactly how long that will take, even for the fastest possible computer, so you can lock the secret with a puzzle that you know will take, say, exactly 3 years to solve.
And why is that better than just giving the encrypted key to a lawyer with instructions to release it in 3 years?
Because it removes the need for trust. You're not trusting a human or an institution to remember, to be honest, to still exist in 3 years, or to not be bribed or hacked. The secret is locked purely by mathematics and computational difficulty. The guarantee that it won't be available before the 3 years is up and will be available after comes from the physics of computation, not from fallible human promises. It's a truly trustless time lock. #tag outro.
Wow. Okay, that was quite a journey. From just writing words on paper to verifiable delay functions and paralysis proofs, it really shows the layers involved in doing self-custody properly, especially long-term. Let's try to boil this down. What are the absolute key takeaways for someone listening?
I think there are 4 main things. First, education is your primary defense. You absolutely have to understand that a seed phrase is not a password. It's an irreplaceable cryptographic key. Getting that distinction is step 1.
Right. Don't treat it like your email login. Second,
Physical security means durable, resilient media. Ditch the paper. Use high-quality metal stamping, ideally 3on16 stainless or titanium, to survive fire, water, time. Make it physically permanent.
got it. Metal backups. Third point.
Third, redundancy and layered security are crucial. Use that BIP39 passphrase, the 25th word stored separately, to defeat physical theft. And for significant value, seriously consider multisig or possibly SSS to eliminate single points of failure, whether that's a lost device or an unavailable person.
Don't put all your eggs or all your keys in one basket. And the fourth?
And fourth, planning for the inevitable is mandatory. Don't be part of that majority with no plan. Look into the emerging professional legal standards, maybe using trusts in jurisdictions like Wyoming or South Dakota, and explore those tech solutions. Even a basic self-hosted dead man switch is better than nothing, and things like DAS offer a glimpse into a more automated future for inheritance.
So, wrapping this all up, what's the big picture here? This complexity, this responsibility, what does it force us to confront?
I think it forces us to grapple with fundamental questions about control, about legacy, about trust itself. Traditional finance kind of hid these things behind layers of intermediaries and insurance. Self-custody rips those layers away.
You're directly responsible.
Completely. Securing your assets against fire and hackers is one challenge, but ensuring they actually reach your intended heirs without getting lost, frozen, or intercepted by some intermediary along the way, that's the next frontier. It's arguably even harder.
So the final thought we leave everyone with is really a question for yourself.
Exactly. How prepared are you? Not just technically, with backups and passwords, but organizationally, legally, emotionally, perhaps. Are you ready to truly be your own bank, your own security team, and your own long-term estate planner? Because with self-custody, the keys are in your hands, but so is all the responsibility that comes with them. Your entire digital legacy rests on your shoulders.
A powerful thought to end on. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.